look at our boy Dougie Monda there. He's got the official background. My man did it. He is the Doug. Doug, you impress all the time, and you did it inside of about a minute, man. Yes, yes, we're giving the golf clap to Dougie Fresh right there, man.
Yeah,
That's
making
not
leaps
easy.
and bounds, leaps and bounds.
That's right, my man. That's right, man. So welcome to everybody coming on. We do appreciate you guys tuning in and catching another episode with us. Our brother Chris Scallon cannot be on right now. He is dealing with some work stuff. He is making it happen. He's just trying to make sure to keep our people our first responders healthy and get the help that they need. So he's doing good work. So we appreciate him and we miss him. We'll miss him tonight, but he'll be on next week. Doug, what's been going on, man? What you been doing last week, man?
Um, Man, I don't even remember. I've been working my butt off so hard, man. I'm actually exhausted. No, I've just been doing stuff here in Florida, getting ready for a couple events we have. This is like the first few days I've been home in several weeks, getting ready to leave again for another several weeks. So just been trying to catch up here and I spent a lot of time on the phone lately as it's been one of those weeks where I'm getting a lot of phone calls. I say complaints from cops, but just the usual stuff, which is in the mental health industry, and that can be taxing just in itself, listening to
Absolutely.
somebody's story and then which today, which is a great topic, being organizational betrayal.
Hmm.
That word could be used in a bunch of different ways, but um, a lot of the complaints, I use the word complaints loosely, but a lot of things that people have been telling me on the phone is just, lack of care or not having the education, the knowledge of what to do, things like that. So that can get tiring, even for us. It's some days when you're living your own nightmare and you got to pick up the phone and live somebody else's nightmare, it could be difficult, but that's generally it. Just getting ready to hit the road with you and go speak at a couple conferences and make some new friends and maybe hopefully help somebody and look forward to getting this conversation tonight because it's been a topic. It's it's been I don't know the word, like a frequent topic lately, quite a bit.
It, it's one of those things, man. And Chris puts it the best. It's not a lot of times. It's not the incident, right? It's how we're treated
Yeah.
afterwards that really gets to us. And uh, I'm actually out of one of the local colleges here in Florida teaching for this week, and we were just talking about some of this uh, in the class. Um, you know, they were giving me a couple examples that hit home with them in reference to how the agency is treating the first responder after going through crisis. An example that one example that were giving me is uh, they have a first responder that's uh, has a substance abuse problem. Um, the 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 and of course the wheels have fallen off, and the doc is saying, "Hey, this is all because of these things that happened, in the past at the job, all because of these incidents." And if he gets treatment, if he gets help, he's gonna be okay. And the agencies kind of they don't want to hear about him getting treatment and trying to be okay. They're just ready to go ahead and uh, you know push him aside and get rid of him. And it's a shame that this is somewhat of a norm that we see around the country of people just of not people but agencies, some of the old guard, if you will, um, they can't get out their own way when it comes to trying to take care of our first responders, turning their backs on our first responders. And we actually know this one lady out in California who speaks pretty, she speaks on some stuff, and she's had some stuff going on with her, but it's a crazy example of what we were talking about. Remember, I'm drawing a blank with her
Me-
name, but she was
Megan,
Megan. Yes, yes, yes.
Megan.
She was, and if you don't know the story, uh, she went to a call, kind of a disturbance, domestic type deal. When she gets there, long story short, the the adult son ends up wrestling with her, gets her on the ground. She ends up having to pull her gun. He gets the gun away from her. She gets up and runs for cover. He shoots at her. He shoots at her. Thank God he missed. So, to kind of beat her up in the scuffle a little bit, and then ends up taking her gun and shooting at her. Uh, he's caught. The police show up and get into a little bit of a shootout. He gives up. Um, then a year later, he was found not guilty. But through the process, Megan was feeling some of that betrayal by the agency for a whole bunch of different reasons. And that, more than the incident, is what affected her. And that's the things that we don't talk about. And we're still trying to get chiefs or I should say just chiefs, but trying to get the leadership to understand, you
Yeah.
know, and that just goes without saying. What are we saying?
Some lead or some, yeah, there are some chiefs, but I always remind everybody, I always try not to bash anybody, any agency, any police chief or what they're doing. Because I remember when I was in patrol and then when I crossed over to supervision, I remember learning all the things people used to say. Oh, well, when you become a supervisor, your role changes because you got to protect the agency, the policies, the people, like things. So I get all that. But I would say some agencies, it's not the chief, it's the HR, it's the city. I worked for a small city. I would say a small city, 20,000 people. Um, and a city that was 17 square miles. And so, we had an HR department, we had a city manager, just like any other municipality. And, my city, when they got involved in my care, they did a really good job. And so, there are some that are great and some that aren't. But I also get a lot of complaints. The most that I've gotten complaints on lately were lack of knowledge, lack of information. And so when I get these things, because of my role with the state of Florida, with the Florida police chiefs, FDLE, things like that, that I'm involved in, I really have to do my research to ask questions and to answer questions. And one of the things that people feel betrayed, organizationally betrayed, a lot different than what people are thinking. Most people think like, I know Megan's story and her department for based on the story, they didn't do a good job of taking care of her. We'll just leave it at that. I don't like to point fingers because I wasn't there and I didn't see it. But one of the main things that I'm getting at is lack of information. So, in the state of Florida offers significant programs, post-critical incident seminars. State of Florida has a work comp PTSD bill in place. So obviously, it's not an easy task, to get work comp. I actually despise work comp because of what they did to me in my past history in law enforcement. But these things that we have in place, what a lot of police officers are complaining about is they don't even know it. They go, no, nobody's ever told us in our department. So then I have to go in and research from the department's aspect or from the chiefs. And obviously, I work with all the police chiefs in the state of Florida, and they're by far amazing police chiefs in the state of Florida. And what I'm finding out is that the reason this information isn't getting put to the officers, let's just use police officers, is because of staffing issues. Police chiefs are afraid to push this information down. And if they do, they push it down to the command level, lieutenants, that level. And then that lieutenant has this paperwork in his hand for a post-critical incident seminar, knowing that he or she might have several police officers that would benefit from this program. And then what this lieutenant does, and I'm hypothetically speaking, this lieutenant looks at the paperwork and goes, crap, if I send these three cops that were just involved in a shooting 2 months ago that are back to work, if I send them to this seminar, then I'm not going to have enough bodies on the street to staff my minimum staffing. Then I have to post overtime. Then I have to go to the chief and I have to go to the commander and I have to ask for overtime privilege, things of that nature. So, what these lieutenants are doing is not sharing the information. They're not sharing the post-critical incident seminar. They're not sharing the information about work comp and the PTSD bill. And so when these officers find this out, they feel betrayed. Like, oh, they have this information. Then it becomes an ethical matter, because then they're saying, wow, you had the opportunity to give me a tool that would better my life. And this is what happened to me with a prior chief. You had a tool that you could have benefited me and helped me, but you didn't because of you're worried about policies, procedures, money, clearly money, finances, things like that. And so that's another form and another view of what people are seeing as organizational betrayal.
Yeah,
That's
so Doug, great point, because that goes into a statement that we got here on the panel here. I mean, on the board here, is that sad part is that we see it too many places, and it amplifies the fears of our brothers and sisters when they're seeking help, or when they when they hear that somebody is not providing the resources. That amplifies the fears of somebody picking their hand up and saying, I need help. I'm reminded of I'm reminded of uh, the time that an agency was struggling. They had had some critical incidents. Some real bad stuff happened to the agency, to certain people, and the whole agency was kind of feeling it. People reached out. They reached out to us, and we had to do it cloak and dagger. Had to go help them cloak and dagger in the middle of the night at secret locations, because the fear that the leadership would find out was so great. It was so great that they made us hide and meet in secret locations, to go ahead and have meetings with them to let them know that there's help out there that they
yeah,
didn't know of, you know.
that's pretty tragic.
And it's tragic that that has to happen that way. And I, again, back to what the board said, that word there, get around, that catches like wildfire. And that's to your point, Doug, and the question on the board there, that catches like wildfire when the rank and file find out that the organization wasn't supportive and trying to get you the help you needed, the help you need.
Yeah,
Now, you know, and like you've always told me, man, it's as we had these conversations, me and you are having the conversation, or I'm having a conversation, somebody comes to you and says, hey, how did you do it? That's great, he's good, but it's the guy over there that's listening. that
Yeah.
really needs it, and he hears the wrong thing, man, now we've lost that person, and I mean by loss, of course, they're not going to ask for help, and we're in a whole different, conversation. So, and organizations, yeah, I hate to say it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we still have a contingent of old guard that's out there that still believes that somehow they were made differently and that this is just all hocus pocus, and they don't support the mental health of their first responders. And they have some of them have told me that it's a slippery slope. If I get Doug some help, then that means everybody's going to want some help. How did Chris tell us? And you don't want to be catching the PTSD like it's a freaking
Yeah.
disease. Like it's
Like
a
a cootie.
something. Yeah, like the cooties or something like that.
Yeah. And most people don't even understand what PTSD is, the disorder. Obviously, Raul, and I know, and living with me as much as you do, seeing what it can do it can debilitate somebody. And so most of them don't even understand what that term means. They just heard it like the flu. People throw it around. Oh, I got PTSD because, I saw something horrific on TV, or the president made a comment. Now I have post-traumatic stress disorder. I've heard all kinds of excuses, but when I started coming down with my issue, as I would call it, I wasn't aware of PTSD in my era. Over 10 years ago, it was for the guys coming home from Iraq, in the early 2000s. It wasn't really on the forefront. But I'll tell you a story, and I would like to say this as a success story because I would encourage people who are listening. Because a lot of people go, what do I do? Because my agency doesn't, my command staff, my supervision doesn't believe in it. I deal with an agency in Florida, a very big agency, and their leader despises mental health, and he forbids it in his agency. And his agency has literally fell to their knees, plagued with depression, anxiety. They've lost police officers to suicide, and nothing was done about it. But they don't know what to do because they don't know how to approach. They work for a little different environment. But the city that I worked in, and I won't use names, but I remember when I first started struggling, I wanted help and I had asked for help. I went to my SWAT commander and I said, "Hey, I got something wrong with me. I haven't slept in days. I can't focus. I don't sleep anymore. I'm drinking too much. I can't focus. I had all these things wrong with me, and I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what exactly was wrong. I didn't know what was impacting me this way." And so my SWAT commander said, "Hey, let's go talk to the chief. They have programs for stuff like this." And my SWAT commander, and I love him dearly, he was probably thinking like AA meetings and like what we always had, the alcohol stuff in the plan. And alcohol wasn't my problem. I was an athlete. I always wanted to perfect myself. So anyway, we go see the chief. And the chief at the time, he goes in there and he says, "Chief," he briefs him real quick. And the chief looks at me and asks me what was wrong. And I quickly told him some of the things that were wrong with me. And I've told this story before and I've told it live. He looked across the desk from me and he said, "Doug, I don't know what's wrong with you, but whatever is wrong with you, you need to lock it up in a closet and get your fucking ass back to work." It's exactly what he said. I'll quote him. And so I did, because I'm a Southern boy that okay, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna rub some dirt on it, and I'm gonna get back to action. Here's a success story. My supervisor My SWAT commander knew that was not the answer. He knew that was fucked up of what the chief at the time said. He went to the city manager and to the HR department of my city and said, "Hey, I've got this guy who is struggling and who needs help." And it was the HR director and the city manager who made the phone calls and made the process and got me on the track. They sent me to a place, to get an assessment. They paid for it. They sent me away to a different state to do an assessment. And that's where I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and some sort of depression, like a bad depression. They have a name for it, maybe clinically or whatever. And then as when I came home, I went to a treatment center right after. I came home for one day, and then they found me a treatment center that I went to, and that was the start of my journey. If it wasn't, and I tell you this whole story because if it wasn't for that supervisor to take that extra initiative to go get me help, I wouldn't be here today. And I wouldn't be in the position I am. The Survive First wouldn't, none of the stuff I do would be in if it wasn't for that movement. And then in that process, while I was away, that chief left, not because of my reason. He left for another reason overnight, packed his stuff and left town. The current chief, the chief that took over, God bless him, you know him. I say his name, Mike Cantaloupe, because everybody needs to know what a great human being he is. He went to the entire staff and said, "This is not how we're going to do business. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to take care of Doug and we're going to get him back. We've got a lot of money invested in him. He's our brother. We help," and he used the term, "We created this monster. Now we're going to fix him." And the whole department changed and programs were built and things like that. And so I say all that to say this: if you don't have that in your agency, there's nothing to say that you can't go reach out to your HR director, or you can reach out to your union rep, or you can reach out to a work comp attorney, or you could even go to the city manager and request a meeting and say, "Hey, I'm looking for these resources." That's really what human resources are for. And if you're worried about your staff and the way you're going to be treated, that's okay. You can go around that, or you can maybe, because here's the thing, you know this, Raul, in police departments, go ahead and piss off, let the chief piss off the police department. And the next thing you know, the whole police department is doing a vote. What do they call that? Uh,
Vote of
a,
no confidence.
a vote of no confidence. Well, if it comes down to your health and your well-being, take the same attitude and do a vote of no confidence, or do a union vote that you want to implement these programs into your departments. Now, that's just one example. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I look at that as a success story and a learning curve. That's how my agency had to learn it. Unfortunately, I was the scapegoat,
Guinea,
or
the
or
guinea pig,
the
the guinea pig.
the
Yeah, you're the
guinea
guinea
pig.
pig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was the guinea pig for that, but I'm glad I was the guinea pig because it's now being able to help other people and to save other people's lives. So that's just a different version of it.
I think Doug, what you're talking about here is educating the people in the agency and the HR and the city and all those type things. And I'm gonna talk about what's in the board there, but it's to make them understand that because you need help, you're not a liability. Because I will tell you this, uh, in my experience, when I was in a room full of badasses, and I mean that with all due respect. When I was in a room of just these badass SWAT guys, and the few that raised their hands and said they needed some help, there was no doubt in me had something happened at that very moment that they'd be the ones I'd follow and go into battle with at that very moment, even after they said they needed some help. And see, we've got to educate our leaders that don't that they're not a liability. We just got to help them out a little bit. We got to help them to fix themselves. Because most and we say this all the time, cops don't want you to fix them. They want to be given the tools to do it for themselves. So, but we run into that a lot. I mean, you spoke about it, but we, in reference to that one agency that just despises you, and we have these conversations with officers and deputies all around the country that say, I'm afraid to raise my hand because they're going to look at me. They're going to look at me like I'm weaker than, I'm not capable. I can't do whatever. They can't count on me anymore because I've raised my hand. And again, that's this education that we've got to put out there. We've got to start. We got to do. I mean, I think we moved the needle. I think we absolutely have moved the needle. We've got a couple of people that are listening to us right now live that they get it. But we got to keep having these conversations. We got to keep making sure that the conversations get to the right people and make them understand that you're not a liability. Just need some help. Just
Yeah.
need some help.
And listen, any police officer can become a liability for many other reasons, but I learned something in the very beginning of my journey here 10 so years ago. I met a captain that started a program in his department. And he basically educated me. He said, what we did in our department is we had an influx of complaints. We had an influx of officer complaints, high liability, the typical overtime, the bullshit work comp calls. The guy who has the bruised kneecap that's out for a year. Or no, that was my guy. Excuse me. That was one of my guys that did one of those. I'm being funny. So those type of things. And so what he taught me was he said, if we focus on taking better care of our officers mentally and physically, they're going to come to work happier and they're going to come to work healthier. And when they did that, what they noticed was business 101. They came to work happier and healthier. So the complaints went down. The BS work comp went down. The high liability calls went down. The overtime rate went down substantially. And so what they did is they kept building on that program within their department, and their department flourished. But it also is a program, just like any other wellness program in any other department. It's a growing process. As we've seen over the 10 years, it was resiliency, and then it was this, and then it was that, and then it was everybody needs a fucking puppy to pet, and then everybody needs a peer support team. Now everybody needs, post-critical incidents. And it's a growing process, and it's going to be a long-term evolution, evolving with crime, evolving with the times, and also evolving what's outside of work. Because, like me, I was at my best when I was at work. You put me, Raul, you put me in the shitstorm and I excel at the highest level. I was a liability when I went home. Because when I went home, I was alone and my thoughts were in my head, and the alcohol became involved, and anger and things like that. And then when you get into that dark hole, as I call it, you start to neglect your family members and loved ones, and you neglect yourself, and it becomes catastrophic. So it doesn't always have to be a liability thing, but when I came back to work, it was it's kind of cute. When I came back to work, so I'm the leader of a SWAT team. So just like you, Raul, I got automatic weapons, I got explosives, I've got all these things at my disposal. And so when I came back to work, my work was a little worried of, is this dude nuts? He just tried to shoot himself and things like that. So they took my fully automatic rifle away and they go, we're just going to keep this for a while. And my SWAT commander said, let's just make people comfortable. And I looked at him, I said, you realize I have a gun on my chest with 60 rounds on my body. I go, is there a difference between that and a full auto rifle? As you know, a full auto rifle is going to be over in 3 seconds. I've got a whole party on my chest on my tack vest, but I agreed to it. And as the weeks went on, people started to realize, hey, there's a new Doug at the department. The old Doug is back. And of course, I gained their trust back. And I never resented anybody for that. I accepted it. I'm the one who put myself in that position. I'm the one who let myself get that far gone, despite of the traumatic stuff that I was involved in and you were involved in as well. We let ourselves get away from ourselves, if I'm saying it right. And so we didn't take the proper care at the time that we needed. So that's okay in itself too. It doesn't mean you're a liability if you're having mental health problems. Period. You're a liability to yourself more than anything, because I teach this, as you know, when this brain gets confused and bogged down with nightmares and trauma, what I call it the wheelbarrow, gets so full, you have the inability to think clearly, to think 100%, to be at the top of your game. That makes you a liability to yourself. If you're in your head and you're not firing on all cylinders, are you driving as good as you can drive? Are you making the proper decisions? So that you're a liability to yourself more than you are to anybody else. And so that should
Yeah, I
make
think
you,
I think one of the things you said earlier is make sure that I want to make sure this is clear. Most people, I shouldn't say about that either. When you ask for help doesn't mean that you got to be now relieved of duty. I just want to make that clear. It's
no,
just because I'm asking for help and I want to go talk to somebody, a professional to get some help doesn't mean that I need to be relieved of duty and now you can't count on me and now you can't. It does not mean any of that. And that's what we're trying to get at. I think that's what I want to make sure that people understand. Well, I think everybody on the show understands that, but that's what we got to educate agencies and leadership around the country, that just because somebody says they need some help and they want to go talk to a therapist or they're talking to a therapist right now doesn't mean that they can't do the job. And
right.
that's where I think that statement came from, and because it's that's what happens. We have agencies that what was I going to say? We have agencies that just believe that if you raise your hand, you're just no longer good for the agency. And we have to remember that each agency is a business. We're in the business of policing, and so
Yeah.
the chief and the leadership are in the business of running the police department. So I always keep that in mind. I always make sure I say that they're in the business of running the police department. So we have to remember that they are making decisions from the 30,000 foot view. You
Yeah.
can't always kind of get down in the weeds there. They've got to make decisions for the good of the whole and hopefully for the good of the one. Um, so I
And
get that because I'm
those
sorry.
guys are struggling. Those guys who are making them decisions from
Yes.
30,000 feet, they're struggling too. They didn't get to that position just overnight. A chief, a command staff, it took them years to get in that position. So they also struggle and have trauma. And I know this because, as you know, Raul, I get a multitude, and so do you, of phone calls from command staff and police chiefs that need help. So, even the guys from the 30,000 view sometimes are struggling as well. Sorry.
No, no, you're good. And that's absolutely true. I mean, we I try to make sure that we remember that. when the chiefs and the command staff are making those decisions, again, from a different viewpoint, they've got a whole lot of things to consider. While don't want to turn your back on anybody, there's there sometimes we do some bad shit that makes them have to make a decision that you know we may not like, but that they're kind of forced into some of that. So we got to remember that. But I think we have to do better by making sure that we tell these chiefs, these leadership people, that are there options out there? Can we and I'm kind of going through one right now. Like I said, that they I'm not sure what's going to happen with this officer in the end, but leadership is looking at, I think, looking at hammering this kid, uh, even though there's documentation towards him. Uh, this all being related to his mental health on the job and things that have happened on the job. Uh, but they're still looking at maybe hammering him pretty good. And I think, and I've got no issue. I don't. Leadership is decent. They want to do the right thing, but I think they also feel like their their hands are tied due to policy and that kind of thing. So so when I'm applying organizational betrayal to that, it's kind of in that gray area, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And one thing we've seen over time is we've seen great police chiefs step into the mental health arena and voice their opinions and be pro mental health. And then the next thing you know, that police chief retires or gets fired because, police chiefs get fired. They have a 5-year life expectancy is what they say. And most of them get fired not because they did a bad job for political reasons or city management reasons or they just move on to other agencies. And that kind of sucks because those guys are like a beacon when they're voicing out. Um, Neil was a great voice when he was a police chief. Chris Workman, what a one, like an amazing dude, speaks, has lived it, has been in that position, and now what he's done is now he's educating other people on what to do and what they can do and help being a liaison. We need more of that. And we also need more because we can bitch about organizational betrayal all we want, and it's not going to matter. Or we can spend all our energy on bitching about something, or we can spend our energy on making something that works or fixing it. And so I always say to everybody, take it upon yourself to make yourself better and introduce this into the young police officers, into the police academy so that they grow their entire career. They don't wait 15 years like you and me to walk into a shitstorm one day at work and then it just breaks the camel's back. Give them these tools from the beginning, and teach them wellness from the beginning and teach them how to take better care of themselves so that they can just be better all around. Doesn't always have to be, I don't always say to make yourself a better cop because making yourself a better cop isn't the end of the road. Make yourself a better version of yourself. If you focus on being successful to yourself, and I learned this as an athlete, focus on being the best athlete you can be. All that other stuff comes into play. So if you focus on being healthy and the best version of yourself, you will until become a better police officer, a better dispatcher, firefighter, whatever it is, librarian, teacher, clinician, doesn't matter. It goes across the board. And then it will make you a better spouse. It'll make you a better parent. It'll make you a better sibling. Those are the things that you should be looking at, not just what do I got to do to make myself as a better cop or a better responder, because in a short amount of time, that job is going to be gone and you're going to be stuck with yourself. As I use the term, you don't have to live with your mom. You don't have to live with your dad. You don't have to live with your spouse. You can come home any day of the week and go, beat it. I'm out of here. But the one person that you do got to live with is yourself the rest of your life. And how do you want to live it? You want to live it being miserable, sad, depressed, or do you want to live it being happy and healthy? And those are just very important reasons for you to spend, this is my personal opinion, spend less time bitching, for lack of better terms, bitching about the betrayal and all the crap, and focus all your energy. For every second you spend on the negative, you're taking a second away from the positive in yourself. So maybe focus more on helping yourself and helping others, regardless of the department's betrayal. We don't, in all reality, we don't need the department. It would help to have it within the department. We don't need the department. We can take care of each other. We can help each other. We can share information amongst each other, and we can share it with other agencies, virtual platforms, things of that nature. And maybe that will help curb some of this organizational betrayal.
Yeah,
And
I think I think we give so much as first responders, and I'll speak more for cops. I'm sure firefighters the same way, and EMT and paramedics, but we give so much to the job. We give of ourselves, we give of our time, we take away from our family. So the betrayal kind of cuts deep when you need the organization. The one time you say, hey, like I need a little extra because of, and they don't come through, that cuts deep. All right. But I'm with you. I think that, what do we do? What do we do to kind of change that culture a little bit? And I'll tell you this, there are many, and you've already touched on it, then we've spoken on it a little bit. There are many a chief, there are many in leadership that just don't know what to do. So maybe that's a way. Maybe you become that person and say, hey, while you may not know, I do know. And it's okay to say I don't know. I've got no problem. I tell you the story all the time. Um, our chief was very honest, say, hey, I don't know that world. I don't know that world. Go find the answer. You let me know what mountain to move. I can
I was
dig that.
hoping you were going to tell that story. I was
Yeah,
hoping you were going to say that.
I can dig, and we can get behind that because if say to say I don't know, number one, it takes courage, especially as a leader, to say I don't know the answer to that. Because leaders are notorious for just making some shit up if they don't know. So, to say I don't know the answer, but I'm going to send my people to go find it. And whatever obstacle gets in the way, you let me know.
Yeah.
You let me know. That all day long, we can get behind that, man. So, anyway, Doug, I think we're at a good spot right now, man. Um, hey, listen, guys, thank you so much. Well, Doug, I'll give you the final word, man. Then I'll say some thank you. So go ahead, man.
I don't really know if I have a final word. But I'm not used to talking that much, and so I've
All right.
run out of words today. I've been talking on the phone since like 8 this morning. But I would just I always like to leave with an encouragement. This is an important topic. It is spread across the nation as we see it. But I would just encourage everybody to, one, take care of yourself, focus on being a better version of yourself. And also, if you know of tools and you know of resources and classes, share them. Share them with your coworkers, share them with your supervision, share them. It, if you're worried about, what do they call that? The climbing the ladder, Rod. What do they call that in our career? When you got to climb the ladder to talk to the boss.
Oh, going to the chain of command?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're concerned about the chain of command, then send an email to every one of them and go, hey, I just want to share this resource with you I came across. It's pretty awesome. It helped me a bunch. I thought maybe this could help somebody else in the department. Let them know about it. Maybe they don't know about it. And keep your ears open for those opportunities. And if you hear about it in your agency, step up and do something about it. I will also say, you as a police officer, I don't know much about firefighters. I was a cop my whole career. So as a police officer, you're going to step into the street and you're going to do the most heinous stuff you could possibly imagine to protect somebody you don't even know. But you will walk inside the building of the police department and zip your mouth and hide in your corner for the people that you do know around you that are saving your ass and protecting your ass and your teammates. Use that same tenacity to help yourself and others as you do on the streets, because cops are just the best when they're on the streets. They're incredible. Their spirit, their energy, all the stuff they do to go out there and just like you and I did, to go out and just put our life on the line, put ourselves in front of bullets for people we didn't even know when our own family was home waiting for us. Use that same mentality within your department to try to help everybody and to help your department grow and be healthier. That's what I would leave you with.
Absolutely, man. Well said. Um, I say the same thing. I mean, just remember that the organization, while they, it may be organizational betrayal out there, you have to rely on yourself and the resources that are around you and call us. I mean, we are right here for you. You get in touch with After Action. We will find a resource. We will help you. And if you're going through if you have an organization that just is not backing you, we are here for you. Doug, myself, Chris, you find us. We will come running. We'll come help you. Let us be that resource for you, no matter what it is. That's one of our pet peeves. You make contact with us, we're gonna get back with you. We're gonna help you. We know people around the country, and that's where our gift lies, I believe. So with that, I appreciate it, Doug, man. Thanks having you on, Chris. I hope everything's good with you. Mark, hey, appreciate you what you're doing in the background. Marky's always doing her thing. Love it. Take care. Good night, guys.